It was Mahatma Gandhi who said, the planet can produce enough for human need, but not human greed.
So you're the American dairy industry in the 90s. For the past 100 years or so, you have been thriving, reaping the benefits of the entire US population being basically dependent on cow's milk. Milk was viewed as something everyone needed, like toothpaste or a car. Practically every single American family across the country was buying milk on a daily basis in the 50s.
Milk untouched by human hand. Today, milk comes to the customer, whether at home, store, or restaurant, at the peak of its triple goodness: fresh, pure, and energizing, enriched by added vitamins.
Which meant a lot of dollar signs for the industry. But now you were facing a big problem. People weren't buying milk anymore. They're too enticed by a cool, fresh competitor on the beverage scene: soft drinks. Soda has been around for a while, but in the 90s, big brands like Coca-Cola and Snapple took their marketing to the next level. And by the 90s, soft drinks has successfully built a reputation of being the drink for young hip people. Unlike milk, which gained the reputation of being a nuisance that parents made you drink, something had to be done. So you established the California Milk Processor Board, a very vague, unassuming name for a propaganda machine. Behind its big name, the California Milk Processor Board was started as a non-profit marketing organization with the goal of getting people to buy and drink more milk, no matter what it took. For years, you had been trying to sell milk by telling everyone that it was healthy for them and their children, that milk was an essential ingredient to their kids growing up big and strong.
Drink your milk, kids.
I don't want milk. Milk's for babies.
Yeah, babies.
Oh yeah? Well, I happen to know that milk helps build strong bones, so drink up.
Well, Mr. Miller told me he never drinks milk. Look at him.
Yeah.
Hi, kids.
Oh, that's not good.
Got milk.
But nobody cared about that anymore. Soda is packed with sugar, and yet it was still flying off the shelves. You needed to come up with a new angle to compete. So the board's advertising agency sets up a little research experiment. They put hidden cameras in their own offices to see their staff's reaction when they went to the fridge and realized there was no milk left. The reaction was always the same: total disappointment. That's when they found the emotion they could tap into, the emotional trigger they could latch onto, the frustration of running out of milk. I mean, seriously, think about how annoying it is when you go to grab a bowl of cereal only to open the fridge and discover there's not a single drop of milk left. It is the worst. This little moment of frustration sparked Big Milk's infamous advertising campaign.
And that was the Vienna Wood Dancing D, one of my all-time favorites. And now let's make that random call with today's $10,000 question. It's a tough one. Who shot Alexander Hamilton in that famous duel? All right, let's go to the phones and see who's out there.
Hello?
Hello, for $10,000, who shot... Excuse me?
Hold on, let me get some milk.
I'm afraid your time is almost up. I'm sorry, maybe next time.
Got milk.
This commercial was directed by none other than Michael Bay, the director of Transformers, of course. People went crazy for this hilarious commercial as soon as it aired, and so began one of the most iconic advertising campaigns in history. Soon the whole country would know the trademark slogan.
Hey, I'm you, from the future.
You're me?
I know. Drink this. It's working! Keep drinking! We did it!
Ti amo. Amore, vieni. Amore mio.
What? You don't like interrupted dreams? There might just be a drink for that.
Every celebrity would soon be saying "got milk" with a white mustache across their upper lip. But got milk was not the first time the dairy industry had tried to trick the public into drinking more milk. In fact, the milk industry had actually been colluding with the government for decades. A pact, a cartel between big milk and big governments to push the drink as a crucial part of a balanced diet. That parents were irresponsible if they weren't making their kids drink a few cups of milk a day. But is any of it true? Or have we been brainwashed into drinking something that's actually killing us, that we were never meant to consume, while big milk and big government line their own pockets? My name is Jake Tran. I make documentaries on money, power, war, and crime with my team. Subscribe for more. If you want to win $1,000 cash, starting right now, we're picking a random Instagram follower every single week to win. You just have to be following me at Jake Tran, just got this new handle, and you're automatically entered. Watch out for fake accounts. I will never message you asking for money. And this is the truth behind the milk cartel.
Milk, an important food for the health of the nation. Pasteurized milk, a safe food, trusted by millions of people and important in every diet, of special importance to children and invalids. For all these people, pasteurization is a guarantee of safety. There is no such thing as partly safe milk. Pasteurization is a scientific job, a responsible job.
The biggest dairy company today is Nestle. Nestle has nearly $40 billion in debts. That is an insane amount of debts. Giant corporations like Nestle can handle this kind of debts, but regular people like you and I? No way. Drowning in credit card debt and high interest debt keeps you down. It prevents you from moving forward in life. But what if there was a different way out? What if you could get a new loan at a smarter interest rates, use that new loan to pay off your high interest debts, so you're left with only one fixed monthly payment and a clear payoff dates, so you can escape this vicious cycle of debt once and for all. Think about the weight that would be lifted off your shoulders if you had this way of taking care of your debts. Well, that's where Upstart comes in. Upstart is a quick and simple way to get a personal loan that only requires one fixed monthly payment with a clear payoff dates that you can use to pay off your high interest debts. And it's all done online with easy to understand payment terms. That way you'll know exactly how much you're paying and for how long. Over 1.8 million people have taken advantage of Upstart to pay off their credit cards, consolidate high interest debts, or to fund a personal expense. And the great thing about Upstart is that it considers factors other than just your credit score. Upstart looks at your income, employment, and other information to get you a smarter rate for your loan. Your loan offer could be anywhere from $1,000 to $50,000, and you can check your rate in minutes without impacting your credit score. If you end up getting a loan, you could have access to your funds in as little as 1 business day. And you can check your rate without impacting your credit score right now at upstart.com/Jake. That's upstart.com/Jake to check your rate today. Don't forget to use our link to let them know we sent you. Loan amounts will be determined based on your credit, income, and other certain information provided in your loan application. That's upstart.com/Jake. Thanks to Upstart for sponsoring this video.
It's 4000 BCE in Western Europe, and lots of exciting things are happening. Civilizations are being built up, the potter's wheel was just invented, and everyone is about to start writing. Throughout all these developments, people are beginning to domesticate animals as well. Horses, chickens, sheep, cows. The farmers that were taking care of these animals started thinking, what if we drink our cow's milk? And that's how the whole trend of drinking milk in Europe and North America began. Before this point, the only milk humans ever consumed was their mothers. Humans would actually lose the enzyme in their body needed to digest milk, or lactase, after infancy, so adults who drank it used to get really sick. But drinking milk served these people with a crucial evolutionary advantage. It was hard being a human around this time. Getting all the nutrients you needed wasn't as simple as a trip to the grocery store. Having a ready-made drink on hand with so many useful nutrients was a really good thing. A lot of the people who lived in areas that drank cow's milk ended up having an easier time surviving So, it wasn't long before their genes evolved to keep digesting lactase into adulthood. And now, they could drink milk without getting sick. That's a trait that many of the people in Europe and North America still have today. It's why the milk industry boomed in these areas. Unlike places that didn't drink milk around this time, like East Asia, where basically everyone in the whole region is lactose intolerant, including Jake. So even though some humans have been drinking milk for thousands of years, in the grand scheme of things, it's still way less than 0.1% of our time on Earth. But it wasn't until the 20th century that dairy became its own industry. Milk started being a big thing during World War I. The US actually sent off over 750 million pounds of condensed milk to help its allies overseas. And Americans were using it to substitute calories during food rationing. But after the war, people didn't need milk as much anymore, and farms were left with a ridiculous amount of dairy that no one wanted. We can't let our important farmers go out of business now, can we? So much like the sugar industry, the US government stepped in to save the day. The US government started telling the public that milk was the key to being healthy, that it's good for your bones.
Vitamin D milk helps build strong bones and teeth.
By 1926, experts were recommending that children drink a pint of milk every day. Can you imagine if you could sell a product that the US government was pushing people so hard to consume every single day? Think about how easier that would make your life. Every time an obstacle got in the way of the milk industry, the government would step in to remove it. In 1937, the government even set a minimum price that farmers had to be paid for their milk, price fixing, like the same thing that US's archenemy was doing at the time, the Soviet Union, and it's basically the same system we use today. Once the Second World War happened, demand for milk went through the roof again, and again. Nobody was buying milk after the war ended, so there was way too much leftover product. Like millions of pounds. Can you guess what happens next? We can't let our dairy farmers suffer. Farmers are the backbone of our economy. So the government buys up all their extra supply with taxpayer dollars. They put out a new policy that bled $2 billion into the dairy industry over 4 years by buying the surplus of dairy products. Basically, Americans stopped buying milk, so the government forced them to buy milk at the point of a gun through your tax dollars. And when you hear dairy farmers, you imagine cute mom and pop farmers trying to make ends meet with a few cows here and there. But that's not the case at all. No, we're talking about your money being used to fund this, and this. Now, the US government has a stockpile of milk and other dairy supplies with no idea what to do with them. They send some overseas and give a bunch to school lunch programs. But mainly, all of these dairy products sat in storage. By 1983, the US government had around 3 billion pounds of excess dairy stored away. One USDA official actually said probably the cheapest and most practical thing to do would be to dump it in the ocean. To make up for it, the federal government was now recommending that children drink 4 glasses of milk a day. Soon, the Dairy Checkoff program was created, allowing dairy farmers to be used for things like promotional campaigns with fast food brands, encouraging the big fast food chains to use even more dairy. Then, in the 1990s came the famous Got Milk ad campaign. One of the most well-known ads of our generation. It might even be called a cultural icon. At one point, 80% of all US consumers heard or saw the phrase "Got Milk" at least once per day.
Got Milk?
Got Milk put out over 70 ads during the campaign's epic 20-year run. And it was finally retired in 2014 and replaced with the catchphrase "Milk Life," which is admittedly a lot less catchy. But this iconic advertisement campaign must have sold a bunch of milk, right? Well, not really. Milk sales went up a little in California, but just enough to save the industry from total collapse. And overall, Americans are still drinking way less milk than they used to. The dairy industry just couldn't seem to hold on to its glory days of the 50s. There was just too much competition and too many people becoming turned off by milk. Of course, this never stopped the government from coming to save the milk industry one last time. As recently as 2018, the government gave out a $1 billion handout to the dwindling dairy industry. The funds are supposed to go towards helping the industry recover from plummeting dairy prices. As with everything else the government does, they never learned their lesson.
Why is it good? Well, it's good for the bones, teeth, everything. Great food.
Milk makes strong bones.
TV. That's where we get all our good information, right? TV.
Milk has been integrated into American culture as a symbol of health. Calcium, strong bones.
Milk. It does a body good.
But recently, people have started becoming suspicious of it. With the government pushing people to drink milk so much, it makes you stop and wonder, is it even healthy for you? And the answer is, sometimes. The whole purpose of milk is that it's a superfood for babies whose digestive system is still developing. It provides them with all nutrients, vitamins, and calories they need to survive.
Lactose is a sugar. It's milk sugar.
It's glucose attached to galactose.
It's what we call a disaccharide.
And when you're a little baby who's nursing, you have an enzyme that breaks those apart and you can absorb them. But after the age of weaning, normally you lose that enzyme.
We don't have the enzyme to digest milk past the age of 2.
These properties still exist in other animals' milk. It's an inexpensive and easy source of protein, calcium, vitamin A, and more. So milk can be an incredibly important part of people's diet in places that struggle to get enough food. But the thing is, the good stuff in milk isn't only found in milk. There's protein in tofu and beans, there's calcium in chia seeds and almonds, carrots, pumpkin, and kale are all rich in vitamin A, while drinking milk has risks that many of these foods don't have, like intestinal bleeding in infants.
Cow's milk earlier, 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, even 12 months, you're taking a chance the child's going to lose iron from occult gastrointestinal bleeding. And because milk doesn't contain iron as much, and it's not as absorbable as it is from breast milk now, the potential is going to be there for iron deficiency when they're young. And iron deficiency in a young child can have effects on reducing their intelligence. And that reduction in intelligence can be there permanently for the rest of their life.
High levels of cholesterol and saturated fat that can increase your risk of heart disease.
If you look at what's in milk and other dairy products, it's a recipe for a heart attack. It's got an awful lot of fat in it, mostly saturated fat, the kind that raises cholesterol.
So if there was one food to wipe out to prevent heart disease, that would be cheese and butter. But when you have heart disease, you'd be crazy to eat pouring cheese and butter on your foods. But go to a hospital and see what they feed them. See what they feed people coming out of bypass surgery. See what they bring to you when you're in a hospital. They bring you all kinds of high saturated fat dairy products.
And maybe even cancer. A 2001 Harvard study showed that having the recommended serving size of dairy could increase rates of prostate cancer in men. Plus, even the benefits that milk is supposed to have might not be accurate.
Definitely a very strong link with prostate cancer, possibly even stronger than there is with smoking and lung cancer.
Insulin-like growth factor, which is a hormone that mama cow puts in the milk for baby cow to grow, and human mothers do the same thing in human breast milk.
Because milk is designed to make things grow. And so the mother cow is putting growth factors and hormones and nutrients into the milk to cause changes in the calf's body that make the calf's cells grow.
When you're an adult, you don't need any more growth hormone. Growth hormone basically is looking around for something to do. If it finds a non-self cell or a mutated cell, then it can act on those cancerous cells and increase growth of cancer cells.
One study found that even moderate amounts of dairy milk consumption can increase women's risk of breast cancer up to 80%. And yet this isn't even mentioned on our National Breast Cancer Foundation website, who are still promoting dairy products, saying they're important for bone health.
For years, the industry has maintained that drinking milk makes your bones stronger. But a 2012 study found that active children who drank a lot of milk actually got more bone fractures than those who didn't. Previous studies had discovered the same thing.
And they found that the countries where they were consuming the most milk, the countries where they're consuming the most calcium, had the highest fracture rates. It's actually opposite of what you would think.
At Harvard, the Nurses' Health Study tracked women, more than 70,000 women for over 18 years. What they found is those who drank the most milk had absolutely no protection against hip fractures at all. The idea that calcium is going to build strong bones is a myth.
Over and over and over again, they do these studies, they put more calcium in the system, and it doesn't help the bones.
When you consume animal protein, such as found in dairy products or meats or eggs, you pull calcium from your bones and excrete it in your urine.
It's the protein in our dairy-based foods that makes it more difficult for us to keep the calcium that we're getting from dairy products in our bodies.
What happens is when you're consuming the animal protein, your blood becomes acidic and your body reacts by pulling calcium from the bones as a kind of buffer to neutralize the blood.
On top of being not great for our bodies, the milk industry is horrible for the planet and animals.
70% of formerly forested Amazon is now being used for pasture land. And more is being used to raise crops to feed the animals. So this is one of the biggest sources of deforestation in the world.
20 meat and dairy companies are responsible for more greenhouse gas emissions than the countries of Germany, Britain, or France.
It's methane. The cattle industry is contributing, a gas that has 23 times the power to create a greenhouse effect that does the CO2 from cars.
Animal agriculture has grown enormously. People consume 5 times as much animal products today as they did 50 years ago. Our consumption will double again in the next 50 years. Already, the atmosphere we're breathing has more than twice as much methane as it did a century ago. The one animal that's the most powerful emitter of methane are dairy cows. They need to eat an enormous amount of food to produce all that milk. According to the UN, it's a bigger source than all the cars and trucks and planes and trains put together.
These dairy corporations turn their profit by forcing cows to get pregnant and taking away their babies to milk them over and over again until they're slaughtered when their bodies can't produce anymore. It's a painful and miserable existence. So sure, milk might not be exactly poisonous, but it's doing more harm than good in today's society, and that's leading to the industry's downfall.
Milk was a bad choice.
The milk and dairy industry is dying, or at least in the way it used to exist is dying. The only companies profiting from milk anymore are the conglomerates, the ones who treat cows the worst and do the most damage to the environment. On the other hand, small family-run farms that have been in business for generations are closing down. More than half of the dairy farms that were around in 1992 are now gone. The fact is, people don't want milk anymore. They're eating less cereal. People want soda and energy drinks, not milk. And every year, dairy-free milk alternatives are becoming more popular. By 2028, the dairy alternative market will be worth more than $50 billion, while the animal milk market struggles to keep up. Milk might have been $1 billion racket for the last 100 years, but it looks like the cartel is finally collapsing.
I don't know about you guys, but I personally love these videos about cartels. I find them super fascinating. So let me know what you thought in the comments below. And if you're new here, my name is Jake, and this is one of the biggest channels for documentaries on money, power, and crime. We make multiple documentaries every single week for free. So if you enjoyed this one, click that subscribe button. And if you want longer documentaries that are too controversial to post publicly, click that join button below. We just put out a new one called the Bin Laden Papers, which is super good. And it would definitely get demonetized right away because it talks about Bin Laden and 9/11, all the things YouTube doesn't like. And you can watch it right away by clicking that join button below. There's a refund policy too, so if you join and you don't think it's worth it, just email me and I will personally refund you the money. That is gonna wrap it up. Stay dangerous out there, and I will see you guys in the next one.